So I am going to, for at least a few weeks, be setting this project aside. Before I do that, I think it's always good to take a moment to assess where things are at so that when you pick things back up, you know where you left off. So examining the various meshes in this, we can see that I've smoothed this out to a fault. I've lost a fair amount of detail around the eyes, a little bit around the nose, and definitely around the ears. So there's some issues there, not to mention the fact that behind the ears, we lost quite a bit of the undercut there. So that's something I maybe need to address when I circle back around on this in my smoothing algorithms. Likewise, similarly with the mandible and the skull, same thing. We maintained a good amount of detail, honestly. However, when we get into some of these areas like around the teeth, definitely lost detail there. So that should be addressed as well. Looking at the ventricles, I almost wonder if I shouldn't, when I do my remeshing, actually allow for slightly more geometry so I get a less faceted look. Because even after smoothing, that's definitely looking a little blocky. So things to consider there. As far as the actual code goes, I do believe that I could make some changes here. Right now, I mean, things are very specific case. I'm looking for specific files and specific locations. I am following very specific naming conventions, and I think I could probably change that and come up with something that's a little more dynamic and fluid. So I may consider that. In fact, I probably will do something along those lines. Moving down, I think some of this is all right. But when I get down to the area where I'm dealing with things on a case by case basis, basically I'm running through a series of routines with small variations, where I might change the voxel size, or maybe I might change how much smoothing or how many times the smoothing happens. But then I repeat again, and I repeat it again, just with slightly different numbers sometimes. So I think when I come back around on this, I do want to also address that and come up with a more adaptable way of doing these items so that I don't just repeat code over and over and over again. And then, of course, I do want to deal with some use cases where maybe we deal with cropping for specific surgical procedures, or make determinations as to what does or doesn't need to be in here. So all things to consider moving forward, but that's something that will at least wait for the next several weeks.